Dan, why? Why, Dan?
I hear you.
It's taking a while.
It says we're live, Greg. Let's go.
Oh. Holy cow, I got more stuff than... Just had a bunch of error messages. Well, that was awkward.
Yeah.
Well, guys, welcome everybody to Live with Lussetto. We're having a lot of interesting, somewhat technical difficulties, but we're up and cruising now, and we got the world traveler Dan Christensen, who's been all over the place pulling, and special guest tonight, Clayton Sweeney from what part of Maryland you from?
Oh, Southern Maryland, like 25 miles from DC.
25 miles from DC. All right. Well, we'll kind of kick back here and shoot, never mind. We'll get people are jumping on now. Just kind of we'll get started with our Heartland business here first. Over the weekend, we went to Guthrie Center, Iowa. That was a new poll for us. Found out why we were there. The Guthrie Center is in the top 10 of state fairs in Iowa. So that was quite a venue for our regional group, and along with our regular Heartland program, we also had an exhibition class of 5-inch pro stock. So we had the Porters, Parker, and Kyle Karstens over there with pro stocks, which was pretty darn sweet. And along with our Heartland region, we also had the West. I'm going to screw this up. I knew them as West Central Iowa. They pulled some farm stock tractors, 3,000 RPM tractors, and then finished up the night with a whole pile of street gas and diesel pickups, 35 pickups. So it's quite a show, good crowd, and it was an interesting deal that Guthrie's a free fair, so they pay one entry fee and everything's free. And I mean, they had a pretty raucous crowd, even for the West Central guys. Man, you could hear people hooping and hollering and having a good time.
Where is Guthrie Center? Where is that?
If you went about 30 miles north of 80 and about 40 or 50 west of Des Moines.
Okay.
So it was kind of stretching the limits of where we normally go, but it was just, I don't know, just a good pull, and I'd be glad to go back. Yes, very neat place. And Dan, we got to hear a story or two from you, because Dan headed out along with Dave Todd, and they headed out and got to see some pretty neat stuff. So let us have it, Dan.
No, we did. Yeah, got to compete with Wisconsin Tractor Pullers Association in association with NTPA in Jim Falls, Wisconsin, and Ridgeland, Wisconsin, and wow, it was awesome. Great people. The crowd was amazing. Ridgeland, I think they said for that poll they get between 5,000 and 6,000 people there at that show, and it's a town of 200 people, and them people were there for tractor pulling. I mean,
Dan, I was blown away just in the videos to look up, and I mean, it looked like the whole hillside was covered.
Yeah, that hillside's probably
like something else.
Yeah, it's probably 320 feet from the bottom up to the top, and what they did was went and drilled and set telephone poles in there and cut them off and nailed a board to the top of it, and that's the way it is all the way to the top there. And
how far to the top did you say that was?
I would say it's probably 320 feet to the top. Pretty easy.
Clayton, I don't know how you feel about that, but I'll tell you that Darwin and drinking could take care of a few people in that deal.
That's right.
And nobody was drinking in Wisconsin.
No. Drink Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That was one thing the one of the tech officials, when he was going around teching us before the show, we were talking about it and talking about the hill and everything. He says, well, we usually have to stop the show once or twice because somebody is rolling down the hill. So we didn't get to witness that, but I could see where that could very well happen.
Yeah.
So
it looked pretty cool. And I see different sleds. What were the two sleds that you guys hooked up there?
Ridgeland was, what was it? Excalibur or something like that. It's an old Bauer sled.
Okay.
And then Jim Falls was, I don't know how you describe that. To me, it was like if you're watching pulls over in Europe, kind of, that's what it looked like, a European style sled.
Really?
But they both worked very well. We had reset. We hooked first class. We had to reset the sled, and they put an extra 2,000 pounds, I think it was, on the sled pan to get us stopped. But they pulled very nice. Sled operators did a wonderful job, and
Yep.
it was good. It was real good. I don't think Dave nor I are displeased about how we did. I mean, we were out horsepowered. Those guys run a little different setups than we do as far as chargers go and pumps. So
Yes.
I had some troubles the first night there in Jim Falls. My water orifices shattered, and usually I go through a pint and a half of water, and I went through a gallon and a half of water on my pass. So
Oh, geez.
that kind of hurt me a little bit there Saturday night, but we got that fixed. And Sunday, the track reminded me a lot. Yellow clay there reminded me a lot of maybe an Ashton or a St. Paul track.
Yeah.
So very fast track.
Yep.
But it was neat. Saturday night there at Jim Falls, they do something for the kids there. Man, I can't remember, some kind of fundraiser or whatever. So when we signed up, we all had to sign a Frisbee or whatever. And before the poll, they actually announced, and all us pullers come out and they announced us where we were from, what our tractors were, what class we pulled, and whatever, and introduced us to the crowd. And then after the introduction or whatever, we threw our Frisbees into the crowd. So that was a neat experience.
Clayton, did you see the new light limited of Lens?
Ooh.
Is it the blue one?
Wow.
Yeah. Brute force.
Kevin Lynn. It's going to be
Yep.
blue.
Yeah. Does it have black rims?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yep.
That's a
That
mean
thing is
looking tractor.
It is a monster. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like blue tractors, but if I did.
Yeah. Got to visit with them. Very, very nice people. They come out and visited with Dave and I, and very, very neat people. I can't say there was anything about that trip that was a bad experience, except for maybe Dave snoring. But
well, Dave doesn't get out much here recently.
he's gonna kill me. He slept somewhere else, so
Yeah.
I didn't hear him. But
Yeah.
no, and it was kind of neat. I had some people come through and come up to me and say, that looks like Gary Whiff's old chassis. I'm like, yeah, that's his old tractor. So a lot of people there at Ridge Falls knew that tractor too. So that was pretty cool.
That's the thing too, that, like with Gary Whip, but he pulled a lot in Region 3. So, he was up in that area.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I heard some pretty wild
I told
stories.
Greg, I was like, wait a minute. I know that chassis. That thing was down in Carolina.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's
Yep,
Greg
Andy
had the backstory where it was Whiffs, and it was in that neck of the woods before it came our way. But yeah, I remember Andy Dutton had it. It's called the Drifter, I think.
Yep. The Drifter too. Yep. Yeah, I still stay in touch with Andy and of course Gary, but yeah, Andy and I stay in touch, and good people, good dude. So yeah, I wish Dave was on. He could tell a little bit more, but no, that I was pretty intimidated going in to play with the NTPA boys and being around those people and everything else, but that they were very, very gracious. The announcers even, after our class there, Jim Falls thanked us for traveling so far and really appreciated us coming and everything. So, I mean, they treated us very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, when you think about Wisconsin, you think about like super farms, light pros, light limited supers, pros stuff. I mean, man, what a bunch of 466 hot farms, or whatever they call their 466 class.
Yep. 9,500 hot farm.
Yeah. They just have a bunch of running stuff up there.
They do. And if we'd have done a little more research, we got to visiting with some of the guys there. We actually could have hooked 4 different places in those 2 days we were up there, and probably wouldn't have traveled more than 45 miles away. So pulling's huge up there, and you don't have to go far to find it.
I'll tell you what, Clayton, I think I figured out something's going on here, but like it's not letting me on a few of the platforms here.
Okay. Yeah, Jessica just texted me. She's like, I don't think you guys are live. I'm like, I think we are. It says live.
Yeah, beer money. I think I've got a few of them fixed now.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know.
It's a Jason thing. Yeah, I think we're going to have to skip beer money, but I think I've got it. You might check. I'm going to check here real quick. Well, give me just 2 shakes here.
No, okay.
And Dave, you guys, I mean, the other part that is really cool about this story is how you guys got in touch with the Wisconsin tractor pullers.
Yeah.
You might tell that about the Hayes deal, because that was you can't just make this stuff up.
No, there was a young man wandering around and had a Mohawk Warrior t-shirt on. I'm like, I know that's a light limited super. And I said, hey, like your shirt. And he goes, I said, I know that tractor. Oh, you know that tractor? And I said, yeah. I said, Wisconsin. I said, I kind of keep an eye on all the light limited supers in the country. And he said, well, that's my dad and I's, and that was Devin Roth or what. And so he hung out with us there in Hayes and come and seen us again and hung out with us in Goodland and got to talking and really wanted us to come up. So he's the one that kind of really set this deal up for us to go. And what a great family. I had some sheet metal missing that needed to be replaced or whatever. And they offered after the first night to run home and cut me new pieces and get it all ready for me for the next day and whatnot. I mean, just super good people, that whole group, and all them light limited super guys. We all got to meet one another, hang out with one another, and just a great time. They were just great people, and definitely go back up there again. They were glad to see an Outlaw presence up there come up and pull with those guys. So
I hate to do this to you. I got to take a call from a Fairbird. I'll be right back. Talk to Zach.
Okay.
We two get to know each other.
Oh, no, that won't take much. So, and you yourself, you had an 85, right, Clayton?
Yeah, I mean it's so the only difference out here is it's 8,500 light limited pro, but we call it light limited turbo, 7,700 pounds. You can run an intercooler with a slotted cover 3x4. So it's and we run with those guys out west at Gordyville all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the slotted cover and the cooler are the differences.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what association then do you pull with then out there?
So I run with 2 clubs. There's Dragon Motorsports down in Virginia, and then I run with Interstate Truck and Tractor Pullers, which is Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia. They go up and down like the I-81 corridor. So those 2 clubs, and they're a little different on their turbo rules, but they realize they both need each other to make it work. So we figure out ways to get together and make stuff work. But their rules are just as written a shade different, but slotted cover 3x4.
Really? So then, I mean, how many hooks a year then do you have available?
Well, I mean, I retired last year and then went to work again. So I burned the piston in Gordyville in 22.
Yes.
Running home and
Remember that
corner of the shop, and then bought a house, retired, got another job. So it's been sitting, and I finally put it back together like June of this year, and I made 1 hook with it so far this year. But I mean, when we're running, I mean, I'm about a 10 to 14 hook guy a year. That's about it.
Okay. Well, you have to travel far.
Yeah, there's I'd say 2 or 3 hooks that are hour and a half from us, and then everything else is 150 plus miles. So
okay,
yeah, but it's fun. I mean, we get to pull a little bit of everywhere. And we were eight
Like what
pumps.
groups?
And then the Blue Crew, like Marty and Mark Smith, they were able to get us P pumps in our class, and really kind of changed the face of how the class is run.
Okay.
So
The East Coast guys are in love with A pumps.
no,
Right?
no. Yeah, I mean, they are.
Used to be.
Yeah. No, they still are. Yeah, unless you're a light pro or a light limited.
No,
turbo.
but then I'll tell you the cool part is you guys have brought.
You're breaking up.
Because you guys, I mean, to be honest, the light pro class really got started in your neck of the woods, didn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the mod turbo class has been around for, probably, well, it started out as a 466 class and then it went to 540. But yeah, we call them mod turbos here.
Oh.
And then they morphed into the light pro class, but they're still like 540 A pump, no recast head. 540 pumps.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I after putting a P pump on my tractor, man, I don't ever want to put an A pump back on my tractor again. I'll be honest with you. And we get in this argument all the time, and I said a 7100 13 millimeter P pump is still 35 to $4,000 cheaper than a 14 millimeter A pump. So
really,
why do I want to put an A pump on my tractor? I don't. And we argue about it all the time. And the hot farm guys get so mad at me. I'm like, I ain't coming around with y'all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember some stories you talking about skirting around, going through Washington, D.C. with a pulling tractor, which is just foreign to me.
yeah. Well, I took a wrong turn one night and ended up on 395 and ended up I was on 395 across the bridge. So, the monuments to our left, BC Wharfs to the right. It was a mess coming home one night from Virginia. My dad is yelling
I feel like, I feel like you might be a little out of place there. I'm just saying.
I was. This old boy, we got across the Woodward Wilson Bridge one night. Actually, it was afternoon. We were going to Virginia and get across the Woodward Wilson Bridge, and then all of a sudden there's, traffic everywhere. So this black dude's next to me taking pictures of my tractor, and I waved at him. Then he never looked up and realized traffic had stopped, and he slammed on the brakes and darted between two cars to not hit people. It's pretty funny around here.
Yeah.
So
then the class that you pull in, light limited turbo, is that what?
Yeah, it's your class with a slotted cover and a cooler.
Yeah. Okay. I knew it's very similar to our 85 3x4 class.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're like 78 or 7,700 pounds. I'd like to see us go to 8, and I think the Virginia guys have pretty much voted on going to 8. The interstate guys have not really decided yet. But
yeah.
And then we lost like Marty and Smokey, who now run light pros. I mean, they still have their light limiteds, but they're just not running them as much. So
yeah, and that's about like us losing Rui. I mean, that guy was tough. And I know the Smith brothers, they're no joke, man. Those guys are tougher than heck.
I mean, and Smokey, I've seen him get on tractors that, when I was younger, I used to pal around with Randy Devon all the time, and the mod turbo class had just started, and Smokey had a mod turbo for a while, like an old 9600, and it didn't matter what he got on. I mean, that dude can drive, and he can read a track, he can weigh his track. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could put him on anybody's tractor, and he can drive.
Yeah,
and he's just, and you're seeing it in the light pro class. I mean, he's going out west and like, come on, man, like go get the rest of them guys a fit, and he does. I mean, he does really well.
Yes.
I mean, his tractor runs really well, but he knows how to drive too. So
yeah. Well, one other thing I got to ask you about, you ended up out in our part of the world.
Yeah.
And what year was that? When were you stationed out here?
So I got there in January of 2014, and I was there through October of 2017. So not quite 4 years, but almost
4 years.
Yeah.
So did the military pay to move all your stuff out here?
Yeah, they did. They did, except for my tractor. I had to carry
Except
that.
for the tractor. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy down there announced, he goes, they had Clayton out west 1 year, and the tractor was the first thing he loaded. I'm like, no, it's not. I came back. But yeah, I lived.
You spent some time. You spent some time in that Mid-America group, right?
Yeah. So the first year I pulled, I was an 8-pump tractor. I had to take off my cooler. So I ran with the NK club down there in Northeast Kansas. And they had a pro farm class, which was a 3x3 with an 8-pump, any cubic inch, no cooler, and you could run cut tires. So most guys had like double cut 20.8s and 24.5s. And I think I bought an old set of pullers on my way out west because I had top cuts on out here. And then ran with them the first year. And then went over and ran with Mid-America or what are they called now? Nebraska Truck and Tractor Pullers? No. What are they called?
Well,
the old Mid-America?
The Nebraska State Group. Did you hook with them some too then?
No, I ran the first year I was there.
Mid-America was Nebraska Power Pullers.
That's it. Power Pullers. I ran once or twice with those guys and NK the first year.
Okay.
Then went over the second year with the Power Pullers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I changed my tractor and bought a P pump.
Yeah, because that's something, some of your guys like Venata and all those guys, we went to the old Randolph Nationals here a couple weeks ago and got introduced to that.
The old hometown?
That's quite a place.
Yeah, they had a library and a bank.
Yep.
And another bank that's out of business. And like 4 churches.
We missed the library. Shocking that Dan and I wouldn't end up in the library, but
yeah. I liked it. I liked it down there a lot. Actually, I lived in Council Bluffs. When I got there in 14, I stayed in Council Bluffs till the fall of 15. Then I went overseas for 6 months. And then while I was gone, Venata found me a place to live out in the boondocks by him. So I moved to Randolph. I lived there the last 2 years that I was there.
Oh, so you you were a native there for a while, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I used to go over to Venata's, look around if he wasn't home, found something in the refrigerator, went back to my house. So my little boy came out in 17 and he was, that was like 6 years ago. So he was only like 6 years old. He came out for about 8 weeks one summer. And if he was a little older and, my folks were a little bit, they're getting up in age. So I knew I had to come back here for a while, but I really liked it out there. It's a whole different pace than what we have here on the East Coast.
Yep.
So,
yep. And then you're now, cause that's the other thing you had to take, you basically deployed for what, 2 years?
Yeah. So when it came down to it, in 2 years, I had been gone a year and 8 months to the Arabian Peninsula. And if I ever go back again, it'll be too soon. So I got promoted. When I got promoted, they gave me a 1-year assignment to Saudi Arabia. And there was nothing I could do to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I remember you talking about,
but then they'd send me to like Korea or something. So I'm like, I'll just take this and go with it. And it was a good assignment too. It sucked to leave in the Midwest, but it also got me back home for my last assignment, and to be able to retire 17 miles from where I grew up. It worked out perfect.
Right. Well, and then like you said, with your family situation and your parents, you kind of needed to be close if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it worked out good. I met Meister in 15. You know, I met Vanetta when I got out there. Actually, I talked to Vanetta before I even got out there. Mike
Was that
Golda.
before Meister become famous?
Yeah, that's before he became famous. Yeah, I was friends with him
Okay.
before he was famous.
Gosh, you're on the inside, man. Listen to that.
Yeah, he bust my chops so bad. I had my tractor up there while I was out there, and he goes, "Just make this thing a 466." I said, "No, man, I'm going home. I'm out here long term. Like, I'm going to go home, pull Pro Farm, and then what do? I'm in Saudi Arabia, and I call him, and I'm like, send me a 466 kit home." So
if I'm not
I had to listen to him like 3 years earlier.
But if I'm not mistaken, he got you set up and dynoed and stuff before you left out of here, didn't he? Or no?
I wish he had of. No, I never even got.
Did he he dynoed that thing over the phone then, huh?
Yeah, I call him and I'm like, "Hey man, this is what I'm doing. Am I close?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're getting there." But the biggest difference is, the cooler. Not that it's night and day difference, but it's different enough. It kind of, I take bits and pieces of what he gives me and then I feed him info like, "Hey, here's what the computer's telling me it's doing."
Yep.
So he really is like, "Take that stupid cooler off." I'm like, "Well, if the class is good, I would do it." I said, "It keeps your beer so cold."
Yeah.
I like.
If I'm not mistaken,
go ahead.
I said, if I'm not mistaken, he got you pretty darn competitive back there.
He did.
You were knocking heads there for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, so he sent me parts while I was overseas, and I came home and I put everything together. And I think I said, "Do you have any injectors?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I got some injectors. What you want?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. What do you have?" And he's like, "I got some Fair Valley injectors." So he sent me some injectors, and we had put the 466 together, and I had kind of fought it the first summer, which was all me. I mistimed it, went to Keystone, burned it up on the line. I don't even think I went half a foot. And we had 3 tractors there. We had a Mod Turbo, My Light Limited, and a Hot Farm, and all 3 went a combined 2.5 foot. And we realized they were all mistimed. They were all 180 out. I destroyed pistons. I burned a piston, tore a piston up. Ring lands were shot. Tore up a sleeve. So I pulled everything apart, got my parts from Meister again the second time, and then just slowly put it back together. And then the end of 19, I'm like, "Man, I'm getting close. I'm like, "Man, something's wrong with my cooler." I'm like, "Still way too hot. The intake was still 180 degrees. I'm like, "Man, this thing should be about 65 degrees going in this intake manifold."
I'm going to revisit that comment then.
Stupid coolers. Yeah, I told you. I figured out my cooler was wrong. So I come all this way. I got 4th place with the Smith boys. I beat Mark by a foot. Smokey was 2 foot in front of me. I'm like, "Man, this thing's coming together. I need a couple more runs, and I think I'll have it done." Well, then I figured out my cooler was shot. So I got in my truck. I drove 200 miles to Thurman Mumford's house in Southern Virginia, almost to North Carolina line. Grabbed the intercooler, ran back, put the intercooler back on, and I went down to Tappahannock, and I won the Southern Showdown. And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me, man!" And my friend Bradley Flugrat, who's in the Air Force in Omaha with me, he flew out for the weekend. I'm like, "Look, I'm going down here to pull with these dudes from Virginia, and I don't think I'm going to do anything, but the tractor's running good. I just don't think I have anything for him." And I ended up winning the showdown. Brought it home. My dad said, "Put it in the shed and park it for the year, and we'll start again next year." I'm like, "All right." So I changed injector lines over the winter, go to Keystone, and got second. And it was a year of COVID, so made the finals. I think Smokey and I got a full pull, and then my tractor was too hot. I'm like, "I'm not melting this thing down." I'm like, "I'm going to the finals." For over 10 years, I've tried to get to the finals at Keystone, and I finally made it. I'm like, "We're not burning this thing down." So, and then of course, COVID screwed everything up. So, but yeah, Meister is he's a very patient individual. I throw all kinds of stuff at him.
So you're part of the sticker program then that he runs over there, huh?
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's and it's really weird. Like that class, I mean, pulling out there is so much different than pulling here. And then it's nice to see us get together at Gordyville, and like the East Coast guys normally hold their own pretty well. But I mean, track wise and gearing, it's just a totally different ball game out there compared to here.
So are you guys are a little looser tracks or compared?
Oh yeah, we have tracks out here. Yeah. There's like, I mean, I can think of 2 or 3 really good tracks that are left around here between Virginia and Maryland and PA, and that's about it.
Really?
Yeah, Virginia has
about that a little bit.
Virginia has like 2 or 3 really good tracks. Maryland has, I guess 1 or 2, and then PA not so much.
So Vanada's got a question.
Soil or what?
Yeah, loose, sandy. I would say a lot of places we pulled on. I can remember like the old timers pulling supers on a lot of these tracks years and years ago, and between fair boards and the folks who run these places, they just, the dirt's tired, it gets wore out. They don't fill stuff in, they don't upgrade tracks and dirt. So yeah, it's a lot of them are just tired.
Vanada says that we should ask you about the trip home from Iowa. There's got to be a story here.
So when I found out I was going to Saudi Arabia, they came and they packed me out at my house. And then I still had my tractor, my pickup, my gooseneck. I had to get home to Maryland. So I took a month off between leaving Nebraska and going to Saudi. I'm like, I got to get this stuff home. So 2 guys out here, Thurman Mumford Jr., he passed away 2 years ago this coming November. And Howard Meredith Jr., whose dad was a longtime super guy. Those 2 I've been friends with for, I don't know, I guess since we've been pulling 08. And actually I knew Thurman when I was in high school. I met Thurman when he was pulling like 7,500 super stock back in the day, like 414, 2 Chargers, 436, 3 Charger stuff. And so we just became friends over the year. He got out of pulling for a little bit, got back into it. And so these fools, they were actually at a funeral for another friend of ours who had passed away at the time. And I had texted Howard and said, hey, man, I'm driving home. Do you want to fly out here and ride home with me? And we'll just take turns driving and make it a quick trip home. And he goes, yeah, I can do that. So they're at a funeral. And it's not funny, but it is funny. And he looks at them and goes, I'm going to go get Clayton next week. He goes, well, I want to go. He goes, looks at his wife. He says, type in this flight info and see if you can get me a flight. Sure as shit. Gets the same flight, and they out of DC, straight flight into Omaha. So these 2 fools come, and I had to go get them. So my landlord, I had my truck hooked up, trailer was hooked up, tractor's loaded, everything's packed up. So he says, you just take my pickup truck, just leave your truck here, take my pickup, go get your buddies. No problem. Pull up to the airport in Omaha. My buddy Howard, he travels a lot with his business, so he's squared away. Here's Thurman. He's got his wife's 31 basket. He's wearing Sperry dock shoes with shorts in October, and I'm like, it's chilly out here. He said, I'll be all right. He has his wife's 31 basket. He goes, I got me 3 pairs of underwear, 2 T-shirts, and I'm ready to go. And picked him up, and they hung out for a day or 2 with me, and then we drove. We stopped and talked to Justin Hopkins one night and had dinner with him and spent the night over there, and then we jetted. I think we made it home in about 19 hours. So it was three full-size guys in a single cab F-250. It's not the most comfortable ride.
I'll bet not.
That thing's not a manual. It's not a manual, is it?
No, it's old. It's old 7.3. And
at least it's
we
not a manual.
we got up on the other side of West Virginia, and Thurman goes, "I think a bicycle just passed you on the shoulder," and I'm like, "Man."
Oh man. That's another that's another Marylander, isn't it? Justin Hopkins.
Yeah, so he grew up like 3 miles from me, and if I remember correctly, they had bought some ground out in Iowa. There's like 4 or 5 farmers from around here that actually bought ground out there and moved out and ended up. I mean, which everything's building up around here, and but he's one of 4 or 5 farmers who actually moved out that way and started farming from over here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's something that gets lost, I think, on a lot of us, is we don't think about the farming in Maryland. And I will tell you, the last trip, I went out to Forrester's with the guy that was working on a Ford tractor, and to be honest with you, I'm an international guy, obviously, but I saw more 1086s than dang near at home.
Oh yeah,
it was kind of a surprise.
Well, up there you probably saw 8,000, 9,000s, 9,600s, 8,000s, 8,600s, 7710s. I mean, it's that I-81 corridor.
Yeah.
Well, from like Forrester's, like Chambersburg, Shippensburg, and you go down 81 into like Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Yeah,
that's all Ford country. Like all those guys are Ford guys, and there's some IH guys sprinkled in, a couple John Deere guys, and that's about it.
I think I drove in from the west, and there was quite a few internationals through that country.
Yep. And then, most people don't. When I tell them we're 25 miles from DC, they're like, "What? Like, hey, there's no farms out there." I'm like, "Yeah, there is. Like, you just have to drive."
Were you the one telling me Chesapeake Bay, like one side's got a heck of a lot of farms, city on the other?
Yeah,
that blew me away.
Yeah, on the eastern shore, on the eastern side of the state, it's more flat ground. Over here, it's more hilly, rolling hills.
Mm-hmm.
But those are big farms over there on the shore.
Yeah,
and then our side is all older tobacco farms. Growing up, there was a lot of tobacco here, and then as Maryland phased out tobacco, and they had this buyout program where a lot of tobacco farmers just folded and said, "Oh, we're done." So some guys folded up and called it a day, and then some guys continued to transition in the small grain, or if they were doing a little bit of farming with grain, they kind of just stepped it up. But Justin's dad, Justin and his family, they had some really, really big. Compared to what like my cousin's the last farmer in the family, so they were doing like really big tobacco crops when we were little. I remember that very well.
Yeah. Just be ready, because I just got a big message from Meisters. So
What did he say?
You have some questions to answer. Let me get back up.
I hope. What is that?
There we go. I'll try to get off there without double clicking it.
Hey, Clayton, how about Thurman's friends? So the first year we go to Gordyville was like 2013. So they had a mod turbo class out there, but the mod turbos would run with the light pro stocks. And that's really where that whole mod turbo light, like Mike Palmer from Indiana or Ohio, all these Indiana, Ohio guys with their light pros and mod turbos would hook together in like an 8,700 pound class. And we went out there one winter, and they took, I'm trying to think, we took 3 tractors. We took Randy DeVaughn's Road Deere Farmer, we took Howard Meredith's Agitator, and we took, Thurman had just put a light pro together, a mod turbo together, and called it it was Mechanical Bull. So we loaded 3 tractors up, and we went to Indiana. Well, we took his semi, and we waited on him, and we were going to take the trailer. We're going to take Howard's trailer and take Thurman's semi. Semi had like bunk beds, and it was a more comfortable ride to go to Indiana. So he was supposed to be there at lunchtime on a Wednesday. He did not show up until 10 p.m. And I said, "Where you been?" He goes, "Well, I had to load the tractor, start the tractor, find some paint. Couldn't find the red paint I wanted, but I went down to Ace and they have it." I'm like, "Oh my God, dude." Talked about how he sprayed the paint on the weights and he had to let it dry a little bit before he could put it in. So he finally got here 10 hours later. His truck has Virginia farm tags on it. I'm like, "Junior, these tags are expired." "Yeah, it is. But it's insured. That's all that matters." So I'm like, "We're going to Indiana in this thing?" He's like, "It's fine." So we put the trailer up, load tractors up. I mean, we're probably 10:30, 11 o'clock leaving. And getting the semi, everybody's settled. We got snack. It's right after Christmas. Everybody's got more cookies and you can shake a stick at. And I said, "Hey, man," I said, "the tags on your truck are expired and you have a set of expired Virginia farm plates on the floor." And he goes, "Yeah, that's in case we get into trouble. And I got an idea, so don't worry about it." And I'm like, okay. So we go out there and we pull all weekend. It's the first time we'd ever been to Gordyville. I mean, it was neat. And he hit the sand pile in the afternoon session, goes to the finals and finishes like third. Randy had a really strong weekend. Like I think he finished third and got second in the finals. They basically flip-flopped. And then we go to load up, and Dustin Hook is next to us, and he says, and you know, T-Bone that's a bad to the bone pro stock. I mean, that was ag chassis.
Yes,
it was just whooping up on everybody that weekend. And he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "You know you only have 5 lug nuts on this wheel?" I'm like, "Huh?" So I yelled at Junior and I was like, "Junior, come here." So Junior comes over, he looks at Dustin and goes, "Hey man, how you? Hell of a weekend you had. Great run." And he goes, "You know you only have 5 lug nuts?" He looks down at the wheel, looks up at Dustin Hook, looks at me, and he goes, "I must have missed that step of my pre-inspection checklist." Well, he used the lug nuts on a grain truck in the fall and never put them back on the semi. So we stopped at this truck stop. He goes, "There's a black dude selling lug nuts. I'll be right back." Comes back, he goes, "Man, he put them on for me and everything." I'm like, "Okay, let's get home, man." So yeah, that was an interesting weekend. The first time we ever went to Gordyville. Expired farm tags and some lug nuts. So yeah,
You made it home, right?
Yeah. Well, and then what's even neater is, I mean, you fast forward 4 years. I flew home for Christmas. Then I rode back to Gordyville with Howard and Thurman, and then I met Meister, Jerry Dolan. I think Golda. Did Golda go with us that year? I think Golda went with us that year. And I met them. So to watch my Midwest friends meet my Virginia and Maryland friends, it was like National Geographic. So like 2 days before that poll, Thurman was supposed to be ready to go. And I called him and I said, Are you ready to go?" "Well, what do you mean by ready?" And I said, "Tractor ready to load?" "Nah, it's under the shelter. And I have to go get my tires because I loaned them to somebody." So he's like a day before leaving. And he said he used to call it, he wouldn't call it a battery, it's called a battery. And Meister was like, he should probably check his battery. And he called it a shelter, which that's exactly what it is, a pole barn with a roof. And they call it shelters down there in Virginia, a shelter. So yeah, it's I think that's the most fun part about tractor pulling, just the people. It's just, you know, I don't think tractor pulling is fun as it was 10 years ago, but it's still pretty fun with characters like that.
I'm trying to make it fun again.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
That's all we can do. That's all. I had a memory pop up today with Meister going over to Diagonal, Iowa, and I'm like, that was a miserable day. He was so mad. He's like,
I hear that's quite a pull.
how you get in this stupid town? So I couldn't find him. We finally got parked, and I couldn't find him. And I looked at Justin Hopkins and like, we got to go get his tractor. Well, his tractor was so wide at the time, I didn't realize the doohickey for the door was hanging on the wall. Well, I snagged it with his wheel when I pulled the tractor out of the trailer and snagged it. And after the pull, he was in a better mood. And then he saw the controller on the ground, and he proceeded to throw it halfway across Iowa, and we had to go find it in the weeds in the dark. So that was pretty fun. And but that's just some of the stuff that happens. And he said, "I ain't never coming back to this place again." So,
So what state is your tractor in right now? Is it getting on the mend or back ready to go, or what?
yeah, it's over at Mom and Dad's right now in the shop. I put it together in June and made a pass down here at our as close as a hometown hook can be. And I pulled there, and I threw it together. Matt Dersh, I had it up in PA. It was sitting in PA for a year and a half in the corner of my buddy's shop. And I finally I hustled and really rushed to get it back together to go pull at the end of June, and then made a pass on it. It ran good. I didn't have a chance to check my water valve. I put the pump on and ran it where I thought we had, timing was. I'm like, all right, and it ran good. And of course, when I say I was extremely, extremely behind the power curve, like I showed up and forgot 500 pounds of weight because the tractor was down the street at my buddy's shop. The weights were at my parents'. I said something to my dad like, hey, can you grab a couple 75s and throw them in the back? He forgot. I forgot. I'm borrowing weights, and I still think I was like 300 or 400 pounds light. made a pass, and I think I was like third or fourth, and then I was only like, I think I was two. They had the track. They had a little tight. I think I was like 277 or 278, and the winner was like 290. So I'm like, it ain't bad for not really having a game plan. So brought it home, and then I've been looking to lose a little bit more weight. So I actually put a different roll cage on, and then kind of just pulled stuff back apart and re-looked at stuff, and just, I told Glenn, I told my little boy, I said, rushing to put your tractor together, regardless of how close a pull is never worth it in the long run, because obviously it didn't hurt anything. I think I had more than enough fuel and water. It ran fat, but I just told him, I'm like, when you're running last minute, like you forget stuff. I said, we're never doing this again. Like it's not fun. And I have buddies that can do it. They can build a tractor overnight. I'm not good at doing that. And we'll never do that again. But yeah, we got a new cage on it, and trying to change some things. I'm getting Randy Devon's old 3-speed drop box this winter and putting that in, and just kind of going a little different with my transmission and change some gearing, and then really kind of need to go into my fuel and air and look into spending some money there. So yeah, sure. Meister says, Meister goes, dude, stop running these old hot farm Chargers. He said, would you get a decent Charger? I'm like, I don't need one out here. But no, he's just
I don't think he's gonna fly with that.
Nah,
No.
No, that's not. I was like, I know this Charger. He sent me, which, and that's where like him and I always have this argument. I'm like, dude, I don't need an Apex Charger or a Weimer's Charger. And he sent me Barry Peterson's old Super Farm Charger one year, and I put it on my tractor, and that thing ran it like a school. Told you. I told you it run good. It's like you're just asshole lucky, man. So, but yeah, it's been fun, but I do need to sit down and kind of focus in on really my fuel and air program and look at that. I mean, I think short block and the cylinder or long block is great. I made some changes, just some little stuff like new balancer, different pistons this year that I think will be fine. And then it's just really now just kind of honing in on the air and fuel. So, which is the name of the game in this business. So I might get 3 intercoolers and weld them together this year.
I tell you, the tires are changing too. That's another thing I see coming.
Dan,
I think experienced that a little bit over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, so Dan, your class is that you can run 30.5s, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And you can run a 2000, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can run whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I've been watching a lot of these pro stocks. I guess it was Rob Russell who was talking, and he was talking about like I call it Midas, but Midas tire. And
Mitas.
Mitas, is that what it is? And I know like a lot of the pro stocks and the modifieds have them, but I don't know, between the Pro Polar and the 2000, I still think that's probably the best bang for the buck in our 466 class. But who knows?
Well, you're seeing in the Outlaw deal, they're really starting to go away from a lot of 2000s and, several versions of the Pro Polars and different things. So they're going back to those bigger tires, and they're making them work.
Yeah. Putting more meat on the ground and letting it go.
And then just like this light limited super class, they're starting to see Polar 2000s or what you saw Pro Polars, 2 or 3 guys with Pro 30.5 Pro Polars up there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That brute force was running them and a couple others. And you can tell the difference. I mean, they're just way more on the ground.
Yeah.
But writing the check for them, that hurts.
I had an old set. Well, when I did well at the end of 19 and into 20, I still had old style pullers, and my dad's like, why are you taking them off? I'm like, because they're not. No, there's better tires out there. And like Thurman said the same thing. He said they work. I'm like, yeah, but there's still better stuff out there. And he goes, man, just leave stuff alone. But I mean, in our class with being so light, but I also had a tire that I don't think the sidewall was still pretty good in it. I mean, it wasn't an old beat up old style puller, so it still had all this side. And I think that's why it did as well as it did. But the 2000s were a night and day difference from a hooking perspective in our class. Wasn't even close.
Yeah, that's what I noticed this weekend with them guys that were running them. They just seemed to hook way better.
Yep.
But what's left in your
I see you got. Well, we've only got, I shouldn't say just one pull, but in our Heartland Series, we've got one hook that was a reschedule that they're going to do here the 17th of September. We'll go to Mitchell, which is always one of our big pulls. So, we're looking forward to that. And always a good turnout, good crowd. It's one of our favorites. It's, they didn't give up easy. We got rained out in August, and they went ahead and made sure we're, going to do it again.
Gotcha.
And then there's a good chance I'll end up in Brush, Colorado, which, we saw you out there many moons ago.
Yeah, Epp and I went out there one year.
So same old.
God, were we back in Maryland?
Yes.
He's tracking just like here. Yeah, because I think.
Yeah.
See, he was there like some 20.8s on his deer at the time, and I looked at Epp and I said, "Man, I wish we had like a nice."
Siebert was brand new. That's right.
Yeah. And Epp and them had. I think they had sold a tractor.
So we've got that one,
And they said, "Man, have you ever
I
been
think
to
they've
Colorado?"
sold a
I'm
tractor
like,
out there and we're delivering it, and then you get.
yeah. And then we went along for the ride. He goes, "Let's just go pull out there. Like we're selling the tractor at the at the pull. We just take our tractors with us." I'm like, "All right."
Sold.
And we
Yeah.
got there. And I said, "Look, this is just
Yep.
like home, man." I said, "You don't have like a 18-to-1 gear in your transmission, do you?" And he goes, "No, why?" I was like, "Tonight's the night you could use it."
Yeah. And then we'll have about a little over a month, 6 weeks off, and then we'll be heading to Arizona again.
Okay, out there. Where in Arizona is that?
Yep.
Eastern Arizona, Wilcox.
It's about
Okay.
70 miles east of Tucson. Wilcox.
Okay.
Yep.
It's farther than that, Greg.
So
Oh, Tucson.
it
Yeah,
was like-
you'd be right.
It was 80,
My bad. No,
80
you're right.
East of,
I was thinking of
I don't know if
Where
that's
we-
it. Cheese curds or the beer clouding you up there, bud.
might be a little both.
The beer is clouding up top. The curds are clouding up down bottom.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Well, I tell you what, guys, I have to run. I'm going to let y'all finish up. So I'm going to leave Zach here, and I'm not going to say in charge. But Clayton, thank you for coming on.
No, man,
And,
I appreciate you all having me, man. I talked to that. I mean, whether it's Meister or Venata or Jerry Dolan or busting Scott Walker's chops, I try to talk to them like once a week or every other week. But no, I appreciate you having me on. It was a good time out there. I miss those guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, and likewise. And, just like Dan going to Wisconsin, except for how much farther it is, man, I'd love to head out sometime and either hit the Keystone Classic or, if they get that up and
Yeah.
going and, or something else. I think that would be fun just to go out there and I love seeing the different parts of the country. We pulled in California to all over the place. And, the one constant is, man, there's good people all over in the pulling world.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're people. I've heard comments. We heard so many comments about Colorado last year at the Outlaw deal, and they're like, they thought they were going to run into all these tree huggers and this. I'm like, you don't understand Colorado. Yes, that's there.
Not where
We
we
got
were.
our share. We got our share of rednecks, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yep.
Well, you guys feel free to finish up and visit. But like I said, I got to bounce. So,
All right. See you later, bro.
see ya later, guys.
Yeah. So, any plans on maybe loading up and coming back this way and pulling with us then, or?
Well, I mean, I really want to get my program together, figure my life out, and then go to Meister. And would really depending on what the next year or two has in store. I mean, my little boy is about to go into high school. He's in 7th grade. He's playing a lot of baseball. He's playing a lot of basketball. So, my seasons are, when I'm together and I can run, probably 10 to 12 hooks a year.
Yep.
I'd like to come back out and just take, 4 or 5 days, go to Meisters, dyno, and maybe just try to dyno a couple runs with the cooler and then make a pipe, take the cooler off,
Yep.
And maybe just leave it there or just kind of meet in the middle or something. But yeah, I'd like to at some point, if not the pool, at least just kind of get back out and visit and maybe dyno and just kind of catch back up with the fools and see what they're doing. So,
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stories. I don't know if we could all get together and survive.
It might be a bit much, but yeah, it's
It's a chance I'm willing to take, of course, but
yeah, it's never a dull moment. It was never a dull moment out there. It didn't matter where we were, but yeah, I said, man, there's just not enough beer.
or Tito's.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Meister likes Tito's now. He's getting refined in his old age.
Yeah, he puts that pinky out too.
Yeah, he does this.
Yep. Oh, so Zach, I heard you had a rough weekend.
Yeah, I did a little
Tearing
bit.
some things up, huh?
Yeah, sadly.
What did we destroy?
Yeah.
Transmission.
Yeah. Okay.
Why?
Well, first time running the tractor, had to make it memorable.
Yeah. For
Way
whose
to
pocket?
remember it, I guess.
One out of the bang.
Dad didn't want to believe me that something was broke. Thought that I just pushed the clutch in at the end, but
Yeah.
told him that was not the case at all.
So you have something to do this week, huh?
Okay.
Yeah. On top of school and football and
Everything that's behind you apart that you need to work on too, probably, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So how was the crowds
It's
there?
only Wednesday, and like you're 2 hours behind us, so you got nothing but time.
No, and he's young.
Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, the crowd in Guthrie Center, it was pretty good.
Was it?
I mean, we started at probably 7:30 with just those street stock stuff. I mean, they were there from that to the end of the pickups. I mean, it was midnight before the pickups were done. I mean, majority of the crowd was still there to the end.
Well, good. Yeah, that was one I really.
That was good to see.
Yeah, that was one I really hated to miss. I'd never pulled there before, so.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what are you doing now, Clayton? As far as
I retired, and then I went to work as a contractor for the government, and I did that for about 8-9 months. And then I ran into a buddy down here at the dock bar one night, and he owns a trenching company, and he had an aggregate supply division. Basically, he couldn't find dump trucks. He was having a hard time just finding dependable truck drivers. So he actually, like 20 years ago, he started an aggregate supply division, branched off from the trenching side. So they had like 32 triaxles. They needed a truck supervisor. They really didn't have anybody that could weld. They were having like body issues, just trying to keep trucks in the fleet, keep them running. And I went to work for him for about 8 or 9 months, just trying to help him best I could. And then I got an offer back with the government, and I kind of couldn't turn it down. It was a really sweet deal and a good job. Basically, so I work in Homeland Defense and Integration at the Pentagon. Falls under Secretary of Defense for Policy. So we basically are taking technology that Department of Defense has that we can put in the hands of first responders. So Customs and Border Patrol, EMS, firefighters, police, so that they can do their job better, and then hopefully at the end of the day kind of lessen the department's footprint in the homeland and focus more on global stuff.
Oh, really? Wow.
So pretty neat stuff. I mean, from like a technology standpoint, to put stuff in first responders' hands so they can do their job better.
Yeah. Huh. I'll be darned. That's cool.
So it's neat. It's something new every day. But yeah, I really like it. I mean, we're in the office I work in, like when I'm not there, or when I wasn't working there, like you turn on the radio station here and you talk, the border, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, Afghan refugees, Ukraine refugees, all that falls under the umbrella of our office. So
wow.
it was weird. Like, every time you hear something in the news, you're like, oh, yeah, we worked on that last week. Like, okay. It's good stuff. It's I enjoy it quite a bit.
Well, good. Yeah. Sounds very, very interesting. I know the one question we never got to ask you that we usually ask all the guests. What would you pull if you could pull anything, and where would you pull it?
Oh God. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would like to pull Cody Shea's old Red Edge Pro that's now the Sheltons in Carolina.
Yeah.
And I would like to pull that at Mound City, Missouri.
Really?
Yeah. I love Mound City. That was a neat pull.
Yeah, that's one I've never gotten to go to either.
I've heard Kevin Campbell and those guys got a hold of that tractor, and they have changed a bunch of stuff. And I watched Colin Ross win on it the other night.
Yep.
And I could think of 6 or 7 tractors on route. I mean, a dream tractor to drive, but that tractor after seeing that, and I always love Mountain City out there. The Pro Stocks always put a good show on out there. So that's where I would I'd pull with that tractor.
Yeah, it is a beautiful tractor.
What about you? I know you're a deer guy.
I don't know. I don't know. That'd be a tough one. It'd definitely have to be Bowling Green or Toma is where I would go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to run an Alki Super once just to wet my pants. So it's just who's what they're on.
I tell you, like I keep an eye on light pros just because, the class is out here and then out west, but the Plotzes turn their 4.1 into a light pro, and that thing is just, they're walking on some people.
Yeah.
And I always like the side of it because it said Grain Handler. I'm like, that's a badass name. And he goes, it's actually a company that sponsors us. I'm like, oh, I thought the tractor was called Grain Handler.
Yeah, I did get to watch them guys pull this weekend. They're originally.
They've been on a tear. I mean, they had a really nice 540 class there at Ridgeland too. And my God, those things just scream. Yeah, they well, I mean, I went to the farm show with Meister and them, and those Wisconsin guys. So I think they were 1 and 2 at the farm show, and I'm like, you ain't touching them with a 10-foot pole. Bad. Bad. Yeah, you stand by the starting line and listen to those things, and you just want to turn your head. You're waiting for parts to go flying. It is just unreal. Yeah, I don't know if they're turning them that hard or what. But wow. Well, the thing that's neat about that class is they turn hard, but watch them light and walk them out of the hole and really get them going, then getting into it. And that's kind of why I like our class, just being so light on some of these tracks that don't hook good. I mean, you've got to drive it. I mean, you're not just burying the throttle and going. I mean, you've got to pay attention. And that class is just it's just like the Pro Stocks. When they walk them out and they light them, then they get into it. I mean, that's driving. That's what's fun about it. I mean, I think we forget about that tractor pulling, like these 360-foot pulls. And, when we were pro farms at 10,000 pounds, you just bury the throttle and go. I mean, there was really no driving to it. Yep. And then, but to watch these guys, I mean, from the light pro up to the Pro Stock, just how they drive and how they can read a track that's the stuff we forget about in tractor pulling, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why I like I pull in the class I pull is I like that lighter class because you got to be a driver. You can have all the power in the world, but you still got to drive it. And there, I mean, you saw the Ford turnover this past weekend. I mean, like, you got to be on your game, man. Like, and those tractors, they're crazy wild, but I mean, if you can get them to hook, bada boom, bada bang, Oh yeah. But that's a ride. Yeah, it is. And then heck, they had that classic super stock. It got laid over out. That was out your direction, wasn't it? Or Kentucky maybe also this weekend? Yeah, that was like Ohio, I think. Yeah. I think that was a Kevin Campbell tractor they put together out there in Western PA, and it was out in Ohio, I think. Yeah, he laid that one over hard. Yeah, it was all. I saw a picture of it on the trailer. I'm like, oof, she pretty bent up. Yeah. But no, it's it's the sport. The sport's crazy. It's technology. Like I tell Meister, I'm like, dude, they change turbos like I change socks. I mean, it's every week. It's different technology. Yeah, and then we wonder why we can't get turbos or why people don't have them on the shelf. They just can't afford to have them on the shelf because there's something else coming out new next year. No, it's I mean, I'd say the turbo game has definitely changed the whole sport across the board. Yep. But it's wild. It's good stuff. Yeah. It's amazing what a guy can pick up from one year to the next just by the turbo. Yeah. It sure changed mine anyway from last year. So, but yeah. So, well, I guess we went past our hour. I guess people didn't get to see the first
10, 15 minutes of the show. I guess we didn't have it on live. I'm being reported, so
As
you
a-
didn't miss. I
That's
didn't miss much. It was just me talking and not shutting up. So
hey, look, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's good to catch up with everybody out west.
Yeah.
And talk tractors. So I mean, I can talk about tractors all day. I mean, I do at work, and nobody knows what I'm talking about. So at least at least I'm getting able to talk to you guys about it. So I appreciate it.
you get back to the central U.S., we'll all have to definitely get together.
Okay, sounds good.
So, well, Zach, you want to color a night for us?
Yep, I can do that.
Appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See y'all later.
See ya.
See you guys. Thank you.